Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yo, what up, what up? It's your boy Rubino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What it do?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuning to the UpNUp Podcast. I'm your host, Rubino.
You know, I'm DJ man.
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
You good?
Yep.
You
Got my coffee.
Got your coffee. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers in the air.
Shout out
Yes,
Boon
sir.
Boona,
Yes,
you
sir.
Cheers.
Man. Yeah, cheers to you, my brother. For those of you tuning in for the first time, this is the UpNUp Podcast. This is the podcast where we're focused on cultivating culture. We do that by providing amazing stories of individuals, groups, movements that are just out here, man, carving a lane for the culture, right?
Yes, sir.
And living on the up and up and showing people what that means, right? Mm-hmm. I'm feeling good today, man.
Oh, I'm feeling
I'm
great.
feeling wired right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling hype. This is episode 34.
34.
We in there, man.
Wow.
This one's dedicated to Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Episode 20 was dedicated to Gary Payton, so we're gonna just.
Shaq.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't consult with you about that before the show, but we're just gonna keep it going.
It's a Lakers thing.
Yeah, shout out Laker Nation. Now, for those of you first-time listeners, I always want to make sure that we're shouting out our consistent listeners and supporters and viewers. Thank you guys, man. We appreciate the love and support that you guys are giving us, the encouragement, man. Like it's a vibe, man.
For sure.
It's a cycle of energy, man, and we're taking it, we're running with it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
It's
So
gonna be a
shout out,
celebration later.
Yes, sir. Coming soon. So shout out to all of y'all. Please make sure to follow us. If you want to continue supporting this podcast, you can catch all the episodes on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Just type in the UpNUp Podcast, and that's where you can find it. Also, please follow us at _ the UpNUp on all social media platforms to stay tapped in. DJ Aaron, what we got coming, man?
We got a lot. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. Now, getting that out the way, do you got any announcements you want to make? I know you got something coming up, right? Nothing this Saturday? Nothing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I forgot. It was postponed or whatever, but Eats a Vibe is having their 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were supposed to have it, but the little Snowmageddon thing kind of interrupted.
Ain't nothing little about that Snowmageddon, all right? That's
yeah, you know,
big.
yeah, come out, support this Saturday. It's from 8 to 12. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Where's it at? Hyena Culture, right?
Hyena Culture is
Okay.
Pioneer Square. So.
Yes. Shout out Issa
Yeah.
Vibe, man. Again, this is just another, another person who's taking what they're doing and continuously pushing it, man. Oh, I love celebrating those 1 years because that's like that first little milestone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So shout out to them. Now, getting that out the way, obviously, if you are a consistent listener and viewer of the show, you know we never come up short with the guests, right? Mm-hmm. We always bring a compelling story up here, an inspiring story, something that's going to motivate you, something that's going to get you off your ass and having you go get it, right?
Yes, sir.
And today's guest is nothing short of that, man. I'd say, I would say he's a man who's honestly, the epitome of what it means to progress through persistence, right? Mm-hmm. I would say he's a young brother who's out here cultivating culture and keeping everything he's doing on the up and up.
Sure.
Just to kind of give you some insight on the man, he is the CEO and founder of one of the newest and widely celebrated, coffee establishments, Boon Boona. You can actually find it in Renton, Washington. Mm-hmm. But they're worldwide, man. We going everywhere with this shit. And it's interesting because, obviously it's not one person who's doing it. He also has a very, very, effective team with him. And, their aim is essentially to, be the perfect bridge between African specialty coffee and you. And by you, I'm talking about the consumer, which is me. And overall, man, again, like I said, he's a true culture cultivator and he's out here trying to carve a way for the culture, man. So let's just get straight to it, man. Our guest is none other than the always grinding. Mm-hmm. Y'all saw what I did there.
I see that.
Yeah, and focus leader himself, Efrem Fesaha. Yeah. Give it up. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Hey, man, you know.
Very grateful for that.
You know, every good album needs an intro, right?
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
You know what I'm saying? Thank you for
nothing
coming.
with the intro.
Nothing, man. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, man. We appreciate you. So, I mean, if you're familiar with the show, you kind of already know how we start things off.
100%.
You know, oh,
See,
Quote, man,
I'm on it, bro.
Feed it to us. Come on, my man.
okay, quote man. What you got for us
the
today?
quote of the day today is, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving.
My bad, I'll sip my coffee.
Yeah, no, I see.
Who said that?
Einstein.
Okay.
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 You know?
Well, you
Run
know,
it back?
run
Yeah, I was waiting for you to tell me.
Yeah.
I want to feel that one, man.
Yeah. So
you know what I'm
life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. You know?
Yeah.
Let me just say, the reason why I bring that quote up is because just watching Efrem, I seen him balance like work, life, school, everything. So, you know, I'm pretty proud of you with all that. So, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I
No,
feel
you
like
got
that one kind of, you know.
You got to keep moving though, man. I think, and you know, these quotes, you obviously know, like the quotes, they're great quotes, you know, that are created by great people, but they tie into your story, you know. And before we kind of get into that, I would like for you to kind of give, you know, the listeners and the viewers and those who don't know your story, who don't know what Boon Boona is about, kind of give them a little insight in terms of like what's your guys' mission and aim. Obviously, you're not, you know, coffee is so broad when you think of it, but you know, if you can share that with us, I'd love to hear.
Right. So the way I kind of look at coffee, and it was no different than any other industry where you're tapping into Africa. You know, for the longest time, the history has been, you know, through colonization, whether it's, you know, individuals taking advantage, countries taking advantage, other nations taking advantage of Africa for their own good. And, you know, through that, you know, we see the impact that it has on the continent, on the people.
Yeah.
And so as someone who has a very deep love for Africa, for wanting to have one foot there and one foot kind of here, one hand there, one hand here, I wanted to look at doing something back in the motherland that made an impact positively, that produced sustainability for the people there, that produced income for the people there, as well as it providing something over here as well. And so now, by chance, it was coffee. But I did fall in love with coffee, and it made me evaluate how I wanted to go about that. Do I want to take another, you know, the same approach that's been applied by many others in the past, or do I want to do it the right way?
Yeah, kind of carve your own lane with it.
Carve my own lane with it, and do it a better way. And it was in that, and that's where Boon Boona kind of sits. It's about developing in the motherland, and then also developing here as well when it comes to the coffee world as well. So it's what I try saying is it's a conduit between Africa and the U.S. or North America, if we want to even broaden it out, because we do tap into Canada as well. So my approach has always been a tap between the both places. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, for real.
And doing it the right way. Yeah.
Nah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to. I mean, being a bridge is tough too.
Yeah.
You know, being a bridge is tough. Yep. You know, I mean, Africa and America don't have quite a good history.
No.
You know what I'm saying? They're not on the best of terms if you go back and look at it. So, being able to control the narrative, though, is important. Important too. Now let's get into. I mean, obviously, I'm glad you shared that, and you know how we do here, man. Like, we provide context to success, right? Yep. And so, for those who know about what you're doing currently, that's good and well. But what needs to be shared is kind of how you got there, right? Yeah. And usually, we like to kind of figure out, you know, what was kind of your upbringing like. Where did you grow up?
Well, I came here when I was 5 years old, so I still remember a little bit of my experience back in Saudi Arabia, which is where I was born.
Okay.
But I came here when I was 5 years old, and it really, my journey was a little bit different. My father he was working as an engineer for Saudi Airlines for many years, and so through a friend, he was able to find an opportunity here in Seattle with Boeing, and so that's kind of how we landed in Seattle. But also because that there was a reasonable side, a community, a Habesh community here, so he felt comfortable with that and bringing his family here.
Gotcha.
But I grew up in West Seattle, and elementary, middle school, high school, and then I went to WSU for my undergrad.
There you go.
Yeah.
Go
Cougs. Go Cougs.
Yeah.
It's a Coug studio.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Because you went there too, right?
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. So my upbringing was, one where, very tight-knit family. All my immediate family was here. The typical kind of Habesha kid that grows up in Seattle. I think, mom doing the coffee ceremony, pops running around to meetings and different, a party or a hazan or something, being a part of the community. And so you see this activity and you see the community around you, and you're engulfed in that, and you find so much joy and comfort in that. And it was in that I grew up, and it was one where I think has brought me to this point right here, which is showing my culture, showing the beauty of my culture, wanting to do something great for the people back home as well. And so that's kind of where it all came out of. And so after WSU, I got into my career world, which was working in finance and as an auditor as well. And I worked for Nordstrom, Amazon, a few of these big companies here, where it was enriching in certain aspects and certain points, but at the same time it was kind of like lackluster too. There was a lot of holes in it, and one of those holes was really from a side of what it is that I truly was driven by, and that was, one was a spiritual side, but then also two was just doing something on my own terms. Yeah. And so as soon as I got out of WSU, really, I was really focused on kind of study theology, really understanding my religion, which was Christian Orthodoxy or Tawahado, and really understanding the depths of it. And I would geek out, just nerd out on studying Giz, which nobody really does. But I always found myself where, because I came out of this culture, of this experience of it, that I found myself pulling back to it. And so I would just always love to, grab a book and just start diving deep into it. Was it
more so trying to find, and I like that you brought that up, because kind of like when you were growing up, did you have an outlook for yourself at a young age in terms of we all kind of grew up, in a similar tradition, right? Where go to school, right? Go to school, become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or I don't know what you're doing, but did you see something beyond that, right? At a young age, did you have examples for that?
Yeah, my parents, and growing up, my parents would always talk about back home. They'd be like, Eritra's like this, like this is what it's like being in the village. Yeah. And they made being back in the village like Disneyland. Yeah. Like it was like the greatest thing ever. And so as a kid, I had this I was like, man, what is this place like? It's got to be incredible. And so I I grew to really want to know more about that, about that experience. And so as a child, I was kind of realizing that they had an appreciation that I hadn't quite grasped, because I haven't seen it. I haven't experienced it. That's real. But in their passion, I was able to at least, it conveyed to me that, there's something more to it than just simply, this is where I was. This is the village that I'm from. Yeah. And there's no toilets or showers, but you know what? It's still great. Yeah. And that's okay. That's beautiful. Yeah. And I remember in high school, my teacher being like, what do you want to do when you get to college or after college? What do you want to do? I was like, honestly, man, my dad sold me on this goal, but I want to be a goat herder in my village. Wow. To be that would be incredible. Yeah. Wow. And it was only because of the experiences that they had, that they were still holding on to, that they were sharing with us as a kid, that it really just kind of made me feel like, okay, this is where I need to be pointing myself. And so, I never became a goat herder, but that's there's still time. There's still time, right? That could be my retirement plan, honestly. In a sense, that's actually not a bad one either. You're living off the land. It's healthy living. So seriously.
So what, how'd you get to coffee? What sparked that for you?
Well, what sparked it for me was, once I got out of undergrad, and I was working for some years in finance, and then there was a point where I said, you know what, enough is enough. I really want to break off from this. I want to take some time off. And I want to go study. And I wanted to study more so on, theology. Yeah. And I had an uncle in Jerusalem who was a monk. He had been a monk there for 40 plus years. And he was my grandmother's oldest brother. And so I wanted to connect with him. I had never met him, but I wanted to connect with him. And I went out there and I just saw him and, you know, how he lived his life and what he was about and the lessons that he, you know, taught me with, that he spoke to. And it inspired me. And it was just beautiful, and a beautiful human being as well. And I kept going back to him. So it was 2006 when I first went to go visit him. And then I was like, man, that was just incredible. I want to go back again. So I went to Israel again in 2007 to spend more time with him.
What was so incredible about connecting with him? Because I feel like first, you know, if you want to go see someone that you're envisioning, did you know what you wanted to talk about with him?
To an extent, you know, what it was is that I had heard about him. You know, I heard about the impact that he's made there in Israel for the Eritrean, the Ethiopian churches there, or the monasteries there, and the role that he's played with, you know, just within Eritrea, within Ethiopia, just that relationship that he had. To me, that story was very, I was very much aware. And then when I got there, I got to hear firsthand from him and just the lessons that he provided me, and the way that he just kind of went about his life. It really inspired me, especially as someone that was looking for knowledge. Sometimes you find teachers out there that are not really ready to, you know, provide that, or they're not capable of really connecting with the student really in a certain fashion. I was able to connect with him somehow, and really I just fell in love with that, and it was that knowledge that I was looking for.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes
that guidance.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, people inadvertently teach you too.
100%.
Right. So 100%. Like sometimes people just being themselves can be teaching people. And you know, and giving lessons and giving game and whatnot. So that's 100%. Dope though, man. And I, you know, the reason I'm glad you asked that question, because there's always a deeper meaning to anything you're really pursuing with passion. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care what it is, whether you're trying to make it to the NBA or you know, you're just trying to start a business. I think, and that's why I'm glad you shared that, because it's good for people to understand, like, yo, sometimes you got to go to a deeper place. You got to find a deeper meaning to figure out why I want to even do what the hell I'm doing.
100%. 100%.
But you did say you jumped off that corporate cliff, right?
I jumped off the corporate cliff.
Yeah, what was that like?
And it was incredible. I mean, immediately.
I love that. Y'all hear that?
That first day that I was, because as soon as I quit, I went to London, and as soon as I was in London, like, it was like, that's it. Like, you know, that whole stress was off my shoulders.
Never going back.
And then I got to my uncle. I spent some time with him, and then I decided then, you know, certain things happened family-wise, sent me to Eritrea. And I spent about 3 months in Eritrea. And it was in Asmara that there was this cafe called Tres Stelle. And the thing about Tres Stelle was that they would roast their coffee at 3 a.m, basically. So they would start late at night. They would roast their coffee and use that same coffee that they roasted for espresso in the daytime. So all your macchiatos and cappuccinos were made out of it. Yeah. And so when you would walk into there, the whole entire place just smelled like freshly roasted coffee.
Wow.
I mean, how many coffee shops have we been to and it does not? It smells like paint. It smells like everything but coffee. You know. But to have that real experience is really what sold me. And honestly, on that journey, I wasn't there, and that's why I brought up that whole entire spiritual component about my theology. Was not so much to speak to that as much, even though it was my driving force. But when I got there, something else also, you know, something else sparked an idea in my mind, and it was that cafe, it was that experience, and it was at that moment that I decided that, you know, I think I want to do something in coffee. I wanna replicate something like this back in the States, but I want to do it slightly different.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you touched on that, because you said experience, you know. So it's like, even when going to your spot, like having the roastery there and having all that, it's like really an experience. You can really see your coffee being made, you know, and that's what makes it, like, I feel like that's what makes it like really valuable, you know, and like memorable. So, no, that's
100%.
dope.
I mean, I think that's exactly what I was driving for, was at least that one, it provides transparency, you know, that there's nothing to hide here.
Yeah, exactly.
That, you know, you could see our burlap bags of coffee. You could see where our coffee comes from. You can see Ethiopia on the side. You can see Kenya on the side. Whatever it is. You could see us roasting our coffee. You could see us serving it all up. And it's supposed to be, you know, the most transparent approach to coffee. Like, there shouldn't be any.
So you work, and so you worked in finance, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And this is a question. We were talking about this too beforehand. I was always curious. You did a lot of work for a lot of major companies, right? In handling their finances. For those listening who obviously are going into business for themselves, I want you to talk about is there a difference between handling finances for a company you did not build, and then handling finances for a company you did build, right? Because I know there's a little bit of pressure, and maybe obviously more risk
Right. Yeah,
for yourself. But like, talk about that. What did you feel that difference instantly, or did you was it just like clockwork? I already know this. I'm gonna just do what I usually do.
Yeah, it's two different feelings. One, there's a passion behind your own business, right? Like, and there's a determination. Like, in my mind, I don't even think about like failure is not even an option. Like, I don't even
There you go.
consider it. Like, it's
There you
not
go.
even something that I even like. That's something I brush to the side. I mean, I evaluate for sure,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So let's say you tell me one thing, or you tell me like we get you guys give me some ideas,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna digest it. But then only what I want to keep will I keep. You know? And so it's, when it's your own, there's a sense of like this like responsibility that outweighs everything else.
Yeah.
But there's a drive also that you're gonna make it through. There's nothing's gonna stop you.
That's true.
Yeah.
And on the side of like corporate finance, it's like, oh, well, if I mess up here,
Yeah.
like I can get fired. All right.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that you want.
No, that's
but
true.
at the same time, you know that, okay, well, I'm not personally liable here. Like, it's not my name that's on this paper
Yeah,
right
that's
here.
true.
I mean,
Yeah.
what's the worst that can happen? Okay,
Yeah.
Efrem, you're out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not that bad,
No, well, I just
it's
say that
different.
because, you kind of touched on it, man. Like, when you are doing something for yourself, right, there's an emotional element that's factored in too, right? So you're more tolerable when shit doesn't go as planned, right? When things kind of fall apart, you can kind of deal with it, right? When it's yours and it's kind of an emotional thing that's pushing you. When it's someone else's business that you're working for and shit goes bad, you're like, why am I wasting my time here
100%.
dealing with their shit and their problems? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'd rather deal with my own problems.
Yeah.
And so that's dope that you kind of see it that way.
Right. The one thing I always, when I think about my own, with this particular, with my goal here within coffee or with anything that I set my mind to, really I got to make sure that I've got a passion for it. If I have a passion for it, if I have a desire for an outcome, and I'm gonna be relentless about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna focus in on it, and I'm gonna make sure that I work hard for it. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna work harder for it than I will.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
That's how it should
I'm
be.
gonna put everything out there on. When it's somebody else's, I mean, to an extent, I still think about ownership. I still want to own it. I still want to deliver for the company that I'm working for, because there is value in that.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't be possible for me to be doing what I'm doing now without that. And
That's
honestly,
true.
I shouldn't be dogging on it so much. But
No,
honestly, the truth of the matter is that had I not gone down the path of corporate finance and really understanding, what makes a company like Amazon
Yeah.
tick,
Yeah.
what makes Nordstrom tick,
Yeah.
what makes a successful business, honestly, I would have crumbled
Yeah.
day one with my
Yeah.
own business. But I've seen the good and I've seen the bad,
Yeah.
and I've dealt with it. And if I can do that for someone else, then I should be able to do that for myself. But I've learned from those outcomes.
Yeah. It's just, you have to understand, like, you're not as expendable as they're trying to make you feel you are.
100%.
And I think that's just what it is, man. Like, if you're doing that for a large company on a large scale, you can definitely do that for yourself. And I
Yeah.
think that's a message we just want people who are listening and watching.
Wasn't it Michelle Obama that recently said, like, she's been in boardrooms, like, they ain't that smart? Like, there's something to that extent, like, where she was like, they ain't that smart. And that's very true. Like, I met several CEOs and CFOs that are like, oh, man, come on now. Like,
Yeah.
Is this how you go about business?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't make that call, but okay.
Yeah.
And not to diminish them and
Yeah.
what they've attained.
Yeah.
Obviously they've gotten to that point with a lot of hard work.
Yeah,
But at the same time, you can see some errors in their judgment.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, all right, maybe.
I mean, not
I'm
everybody-
not that bad.
Yeah,
off,
not-
man.
Yeah.
Not everybody got
that
to figure it out though.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's not realistic.
Yeah.
You know?
So what were like, with that being said, what were like some of like the things you were able to take from the corporate world and apply it to like your own business and kind of build that?
The first thing that I did after returning back from Smeta was the fact that I spent about 2 months before I got back into the corporate world where I just focused solely on my pro forma. So making sure that the financial side of this cafe would work.
Yeah.
Does this make sense? How are others able to make sense of it? But there must be a way. So I started diving into the numbers myself. And because I had that acumen already from my experience, I was able to bring that in. I was able to create it myself real quick.
Yeah.
That's real.
And honestly, I geeked out on it completely, where I would even look at it from an hour by hour basis. What would revenue need to be from the time of 10 to 11 a.m., how many on staff should there be? What is the coffee consumption on average? And what is the time that you want to allow in a line per person?
Yeah.
What is a justifiable amount before they turn around and walk out? So I was doing all those things before I even had.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of detail, bro.
And it was just that I knew the experience that I had, but I didn't know coffee that well at that time because I had just come back into town and I just had a passion for it.
Yeah.
And this is 2011 when I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, I'm going to start diving into this. And I would evaluate and, I would pull information, I'd research, I'd ask. And I was able to build that financial performance. And then I built my business plan.
Yeah.
And 13 pages or so on a business plan. And I'm telling you, for like about solid 2-3 months, I did nothing but that.
Damn.
Day and night, where I would just focus in on what it is that I was trying to do and how I'm going to execute.
So I assume you had to sacrifice to make that plan. Yeah. Not make it happen, but just make that plan and follow through, right?
100%. Yeah. Without proper preparation prevents poor performance. So I knew that if I spent the time now studying and making sure I knew what I was going to do, how I was going to execute it, and thought about any kind of pitfalls on that path, then I'd be better situated if I do that now versus as I'm on the path.
Yeah.
And that's just what I did. I was relentless with it, and I just spent a lot of time. And maybe that's I'm just wired like that.
Yeah.
But once my mind is set on something, it's pretty hard to get it off of it.
I think I don't
crazy.
think there's nothing wrong with that though.
So.
People will try to make you feel like there's something wrong with that, but there's nothing wrong with that.
It takes a lot of discipline, because I feel like I'm just thinking about me trying to build a business plan for like 2-3 months. There'll probably be a lot of times where I'm like, all right, I'm ready. Like, let's just get this going, So I think that the patience is really key for that, So that's crazy.
Do you feel like there's more success in the journey than there is reaching that destination? Like how would you describe that? Because for me personally, I feel like success is the journey. Like for me, the journey is success. Like if I have a journey, if I have a purpose, if I have some sort of direction, I do feel successful in a sense. Whereas some people need to reach a destination to say, I made it here. Okay, now I'm finally successful. How do you see that?
Well, so the way I kind of look at it is that I kind of keep my head really focused in on the goal.
Gotcha.
And I try avoiding the excitement and also the disappointments. And so I try, what I always repeat to myself is be even keeled, you know? And that's it kind of goes back to your Einstein quote, where it's you just got to keep going. You got to keep spinning that cycle. You got to keep going.
Yeah.
And so when, you get good news, whether it's an opportunity that comes your way or something bad that happens, I try approaching it the same way, where emotion is out of it. Yeah. It's just about, okay, what does it mean? Yeah. And so in the journey, to your point, in the journey, there's been since the beginning, honestly, really the last 6 months has been a lot. It's been a lot of ups and downs, ups and downs. And I try to just stay very grounded and very focused. And as much as I celebrate the joy of seeing the small progressions and, signing the lease and,
cutting the ribbon.
And, at the same time, I try to say okay, well, there's more to do.
Yeah.
What else is there to do? Yeah. I want to go do more. And, man, have you seen that video of Puff when he's in that conference room? He gets off the phone.
He's just
I'm a savage. I'm a savage.
That's probably the most I get.
Yeah.
But it's real quick, it's brief, and then it's done.
Yeah, but
and then I go.
I was just talking to the homie about that before the show. We were just talking about how do we get time to go back and reflect and really live in those moments that we kind of just brush to the side because we there's so much more left to be done. So I think it's good that you. I mean, you should, right?
You're right. I should.
You should revisit those moments.
And you know, I've been, you know, folks have come up to me a lot. You know, friends, family. They're like, they've seen me, you know, work up into, you know, to this point, and they're like, Efrem, man, you don't really celebrate, man. Like, you know, I don't really. I wear the same clothes damn near every day.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yo, I'm out here working.
I'm out here grinding. Yeah.
And so, do I think about that? Yes, I do think about, like, I do need to celebrate. These wins, you know, these victories, this point that I've gotten to. Same time, it's like, what's the point?
But I feel like you do it. I feel like you do it in private, anyways. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe
like
it's that.
you just be in the mirror, brush your teeth, like, man, fucking did that shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like no one else got to be there. You don't got to put it on camera.
That's true.
I'm sure you celebrate. I'm sure he celebrates.
There is, I get in my car.
You be in the car, listening to some music.
It's like some Kendrick. Let's go. You know, like,
No, I seen a quote where it's like, I think I mentioned it before, but it's something along the lines of like, you work so hard, you don't really got time to watch your own highlights type thing. You know what I mean? So it's like,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Who said that quote?
Man, bro, I forgot where I seen it. It was a while ago.
Just claim it.
Claim it. It's yours, man.
Mine. So no, but that's I mean, I feel like that's kind of real. Like when you're working so hard, you know, you kind of just got your head down, and you kind of don't realize like what's going on. You know, so it's crazy.
I also wanted you to kind of give some advice to listeners and viewers. I actually had the pleasure of meeting you at a networking event 2 years ago. This is before the UpNUp even existed. Well, it did exist in conception, but it wasn't launched. This is before the cafe was open.
100%.
And I remember we were just chopping it up, you know, and, you know, we were kind of learning about each other's, you know, vision and what we wanted to do. But I had nothing. Bro. And I'm saying, and it felt like we had nothing, but talk about how important it is and what tips you can give people who go into networking events who don't necessarily have anything tangible. How do you still capitalize on those events? Because I feel like if it wasn't for me going to those events and us going into those events, who knows? You know what I'm saying? So what are some advice you got?
100%. You know, networking is so key. I mean, I remember when I met you and you told me what your vision was, I was like, well, let me know how to support you. You know, it was like, go, do it, you know? Motivate other people. Motivate those that are around you. Anybody that's speaking of their dreams to you, if they're being honest and sincere about what it is that they're trying to do, you know, motivate them, pump them up, you know?
That's real.
And if you have nothing at the time, if there's nothing tangible necessarily, doesn't mean you don't have anything to bring to the table. You do, you know? And so even if it is just words of encouragement, you know? And so, you know, what I've seen thus far is at least as you make a stride forward, and so as you're striding just a little bit, inching closer and closer to your dream or to your goal, what happens is that you find people along the way. And those people will help accelerate that growth. You'd be surprised now. I mean, there's like hundreds of individuals that I've met throughout this journey that have got me to this point. Whenever I speak about even Boon Boona, like I founded it and I'm the owner and the CEO, whatever. But honestly, like it's the people that I've met throughout the journey, and so I always speak to it as a we. And so it's a community thing. It's those that have got. It's because of the supporting cast that's gotten me to this point. And so if you're at least aware enough of the people that are around you, and you know you want the best for them and they want the best for you, hold on to those people. You know, regardless of like, it's not for financial gain. It's not for you know even for
you don't need nothing in return.
It's just nothing but just to build a community.
It's hard to come by people who are genuinely just wanting you to win.
That's it.
It's so. I feel like it's harder to find that. You know what I'm saying? I could find a hater right now. I'll go outside. I'll find like 5 of them right now. I guarantee you, 5 minutes. Easily. Easily, bro. But you're right though. You gotta hold on to those people.
I've in the last, so right now where my focus is really because we have such a big space inside the cafe. It's been finding, you know, folks in the arts, folks that, you know, want to showcase their talents in some way, and it's incredible. But like in the last few days, the amount of people that I've met that are artists or musicians or, you know, spoken word poetry, it's been incredible because it's like, it's almost like as I put it into the universe, like that, the reception has been
crazy.
You know, it's like, it's been
crazy.
I've been like catching on to them.
What's
like,
it called?
oh, you do this? Oh, you do that? Like, let's go. If
you build it, they'll come. That's kind of, I hear that all the time.
Feel the dreams.
There you go.
It's very much the case.
That's important because even like building this is just like, I realize there's like a way bigger world of just creatives and just a lot of people that are just doing something, you know.
Yeah,
and I was just
100%.
like, damn, you know, I would have never knew if like even we didn't try to build anything. You know what I mean? So I think that's real. It's crazy how it like brings you to people and you find people along the way. You know.
What you guys are doing is so impactful. Like seriously, what you guys are doing is you guys are introducing us to a huge platform of people, to a huge community of individuals that would not probably hear our story.
That's real.
You know, think about how many people have sat right here.
Yeah.
And how many have benefited as a result of it. And it's only through what you guys had vision for this and bringing it to life that you guys are now seeing the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
And really, like, I mean, I'm grateful for being able to be here, but I mean, there's been so many before this moment. And it's you guys are allowing us a platform, a place to be able to speak and to tell our story and to tell our
It's
truth.
important,
And
man.
So this is incredible.
It's important, man.
Incredible.
And so staying on the story, I do want to get into, you know, opening your cafe.
Yeah.
Located in Renton.
Yep.
Right? Downtown Renton.
Yes, sir.
Man, that has to be a big moment, right? And I want you to talk about that. But what was that like? Really just opening the doors and saying, "All right, we're open."
Man,
Like,
honestly, the moment when I did that, when I opened the doors, it was January 7th, and it was about 9 a.m. And honestly, that day was so hectic. It was so crazy. We were waiting on the city to approve us. We were waiting on the fire department to approve us. Like it was
last minute.
Wow.
last minute.
There you go.
The fire department
That's
called
crazy.
in sick the week before, so they weren't
Oh
able to
my
come
God.
in and all this stuff. But I was
Conspiracy theories.
I think it
I'm
was
throwing it out there.
no,
I'm just gonna throw it out there.
100%.
I don't want the brother trying to keep the brother man
Nah.
down. I'm trying to tell you.
But no, shout out to the city of Renton.
Shout out to
They're
Renton,
very
though.
supportive.
Yeah,
the
nah,
city
nah,
was.
nah. Don't listen
but
to
the
me. Don't
inspector
listen
was
to me, man.
suspect. The inspector was suspect. But you know, just getting to that point where we got to open the door, and it was like, yo, regardless, I'm opening it. Whatever fine comes my way, I'm gonna do it.
Hell yeah.
But in doing so, man, that excitement, that joy was incredible. It was brief though, because once again, I was like back into what else do I need to do?
Yeah.
You know, I've got guests now.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that I'm serving my guests.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. It's not just a place of business, but it's like I need these guys are coming. Folks are coming into my home.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure it's ready. And so it was a short-lived moment. Honestly.
Yeah. And I think
was a
you
short moment.
yeah you learn. I read an article about opening a coffee shop.
Yeah.
I was curious before this episode. I was like, man, I'm gonna put myself in his shoes.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
There was a
It's
thorough
good.
there was a thorough article. This shit was like a good like 6 pages, bro.
Yeah.
And it was like step by step.
That's it? Only 6?
I know, right? It's missing like a good
It's
like
missing,
50,
like,
maybe
at least
50
7.
pages. But it just talked about a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes in coffee shops, specifically coffee shops that people don't know, whether it's prepping the night before for what's coming in the morning, like knowing what rushes are when and whatnot. How prepared were you for those type of experiences, or did you just learn on the fly? Have you been learning on the fly?
Let me start from a little bit before that. So, first of all, like, I mean, when I came back from Eritrea, like, I had a vision to open up the cafe. I didn't have the means for it. So I did all that prep work for something that I wasn't able to do until, that was 2011 when I started writing that. I opened the cafe January 7th, 2019. 8 years of grinding.
So you
in order
wrote
to
the
get
business
to
plan in 2011,
2011,
conceptualized it, and
Yep.
it did not happen until
2019.
Wow.
Yeah. And the reason,
Persistence.
and what
That's
it was
crazy.
is that, one, I knew that out the gate, I did have this desire, but I didn't have the means for it. So did that mean that I was gonna, tear up the
Yeah, yeah.
paperwork, all those, the pro forma, the financial, the business plan, and everything, and say, no, I'm not gonna do it,
Yeah.
or am I gonna continue to persist? And I did. And so what I did was that I just kind of switched it. I said, okay, we'll pivot. Keep learning about coffee. Learn about it. Understand it. And so for a solid 2-3 years, all I did was study. I roasted my own coffee. I started sourcing my own coffee. I found farms in Ethiopia that I can work with. I started reaching out to farms in Rwanda and such, and started bringing in that coffee. And so even then, I was still kind of I was inching closer and closer, even
Yeah.
though I wasn't at that door point. You know? And then from there, it went to the roasted side of the coffee. And with the roasted side of the coffee, it was more about okay, how do I just get this distributed out and outside of my just inner circle?
Yeah.
And it was really after several points in this process of like seeing the first phase, then the second phase of this business plan kind of play out, that I said, okay, you know, I was able to justify each level. I reached the marks that I set for each one. So now I'm ready to open up something of my own. And it was really the summer of 2017 that I started looking at opening up my cafe.
Wow.
And so the journey was about 8 years long. Opening that door was definitely a wild experience.
Yeah.
And then going from a back end where nobody saw you, like nobody saw me, you know, packaging coffee or whatever, you know, all that stuff, distributing coffee outside of Seattle, you know, Atlanta, LA and such.
Yeah.
But once we got guests coming in, it was a completely different beast. And it was like, okay, now it's time to work harder. You know, it's time to make sure. There's a saying, you know, where it's like, you know, nobody wants to see the sausage being made, but wants to eat the sausage or whatnot. I'm just gonna pause, but you know, so but like, so
I don't want to see the sausage being made.
yeah, so yeah.
I feel you. Know.
But yeah,
no,
ride with me on that.
I'm riding. I'm good.
So it was the same with the cafe, and that's what it's like every night. You know, in the morning before the shop is open, you got to make sure everything is ready to go.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's still something that's relatively new even for us.
That's crazy, man. Damn, 8 years, man.
8 years.
That's crazy.
8 years.
I'm not saying crazy as if like that's not how things should be. I'm saying crazy as if like people really don't understand that it does take time.
Yeah.
And if you really want something, then you're not going to sit there with there's no shot clock. I feel like there's no timer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's something that you're passionate about, something that you know you love to do, you don't have time to sit there and look at the clock.
Nah.
You got to play the game. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
That's good insight.
Yeah. Be relentless. Be relentless. Be relentless. If you have a dream, if you have a goal, if you have something that you're aspiring to obtain, don't let anyone distract you. Don't let anyone throw you off from it. Stick to it. You know, try making it positive. Try making it impactful to somebody else besides yourself. And if it is, then more power. Like I want to support you.
Yeah, that's a plus, man.
What are like some of the first steps? Like if I came up to you and I was like, Efrem, man, I'm trying to start a coffee cafe or distribution company or whatever. So like, what would you tell me?
I'd say educate yourself.
Yeah.
Learn as much as possible. What is it that's going to differentiate yourself from everybody else? But at the same time, like become knowledgeable of your product. Because there's two aspects to it. One is a great product. The next is great service.
Yeah.
So if you have those two things, that's the recipe for success, really.
Yeah.
You got a great product and you've got great service, then it's done. So make sure you know your product. Where is it coming from? You know, sometimes it's like, okay, well, where's your clothes from? Are you sure that kids weren't making your the clothes that you're wearing? Are you being conscious about what you're doing? Well, okay, well, I mean, sometimes we just inevitably we buy the Nikes that we want. We buy the stuff that we find, Gap jeans, whatever it is. But okay, as a consumer, maybe you kind of just have to do that. But if it's your own thing and you want to go about it, you want to take it a step further, then do that. Go to the source. Where are you getting your coffee from? That would be the question. I'd be like, who's your farmer? Okay, and if that's the case, then and you're bringing it, you're giving a legitimate amount of pay to that individual that you're sourcing your coffee from, great. And it's a stellar product, like it's a great product, and then you're bringing it here and you're roasting it well and you're serving it as best as possible. Then okay, that whole logistics is working out well for you. That's what we're pushing for. So we want to make sure that that whole chain is done right. And that goes for any industry. It can go for, someone that's starting up a new apparel company. It's like, okay, well, I want to source it from, I want it to be an American product, whatever, and I want to make sure that they're paid a fair rate. Okay, great. And I want to make sure that, the cotton that I'm using is from, a grade A, farm. Whatever it is that you find yourself in, whatever industry, just make sure you're, just try being the best at it, making sure that you're being as honest and sincere about it as possible. Of course, business is definitely a capitalistic kind of approach. I mean, it's like, you buy it for 50 cents, you sell it for $1. But, is that enriching in any way?
Yeah.
Is that really gonna help you propel through all the ups and downs? Is that gonna be the motivating
You got to find a
factor?
balance.
Or is there something more? Is it I'm providing a job to someone? Or
Yeah.
am I providing a livable wage for someone? That's the way to kind of look
No,
at it.
I like that. I like that. And I think it's tough too. It's tough to maintain integrity, right? But
Yeah.
still try to expand and grow. And I think you guys are doing a good job of that. And I'm glad that you're sharing that so people understand. Like, I think it is important to know where the integrity of these companies lie that you're supporting, you know?
Right.
And it's tough. Sometimes we don't know until Gucci does some dumb shit and we're like, oh, all right, I ain't rocking that no more.
Yeah.
Right?
And
And
then
then
you
so,
start doing the background. Check on them.
you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
sometimes we just need to be woken up. But
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. Now, before we get you out of here, we always want to give you a chance to kind of share about what's on the horizon,
Yeah, sure.
things that are coming down the pipeline. So anything that we need to be looking forward to. Obviously, please tell people where they can go pull up and get a cup of this right here, cup of this coffee. What you got in here?
Rose cardamom latte.
Okay.
That's rose cardamom, and then that's vanilla. And all of our sauces, most of our syrups, not all of them, we're converting all the rest of them, but most of them are made in-house.
Wow.
So we make them ourselves. And so that kind of goes back to, how you going about your stuff.
There you go.
No high fructose syrup in that.
Oh, wow.
It's real sugar.
Yeah, I'm wired.
So,
I feel it.
yeah. So, what we're doing, where we're at. So, Boon Boona Coffee, based in Renton. And for anybody that doesn't know where Renton is, it's probably about 20 minutes south of Seattle.
Yeah.
It's right by SeaTac Airport. But inside, we've got a full roastery. We have a full, espresso bar. You can kind of get that full treatment. As well as the traditional coffee ceremony. 'Cause
Yeah.
we want to show what our culture looks like. We're trying to teach individuals about it. And us also, what we're doing, and this is where I'm at now, and this is where, for those that are listening, we're looking for folks that want to bring their talents into the cafe, for poetry reading, for art. We want to be able to showcase talent.
Yeah.
And
Very
just
spacious.
provide some space.
Very spacious.
Try providing space for the community to learn about, what you
There's
guys got.
there's actually an
So,
event this Friday. I
There's,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Habesha Networks
Habesha
is
Networks.
going to be there at the,
Yeah.
at the
Happy hour.
cafe.
That's dope.
So, yeah. So, right now, it's just
There
it's
you
just
go.
the cafe.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I heard through the grapevine you're still in school, right?
Yeah, man. It's kind of wild, but I went
Yeah.
back to school. And so it wasn't what I had intended to do, and it was something that I started last year, back in January. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just take my time with it, but let me study for the GMAT. And
Wow. Yeah.
And so I was like, let me just start studying for that.
You
See
just
what happens.
woke up one day and just was like,
Kind of. It was something that I was playing with for a little while.
Okay.
And since I'm out of the corporate world, it's not so much for the corporate side of things. It was more about like, I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and I would say that to anybody. Know your strengths and your weaknesses.
Yeah.
And my strengths are definitely in finance and accounting and stuff like that. But some of my weaknesses, I'm very honest about it. But I wanted to kind of look at kind of pursuing some of that. And so if I can take the things that I'm great at and make them a little bit better, or things that I'm good at and make them a little bit better,
Yeah.
and the things that I'm poor at and just slightly increase that a little
Yeah.
bit more, then I can probably find myself a better CEO,
Man.
a better business leader.
That's how you do it.
That's why I bring it up,
I'm
because
inspired.
you could like use school to like
Yeah.
build your thing and like feel that. So that's
No, but I mean,
that's
you
commendable,
just
though.
never stop learning,
That's
man.
what I'm saying.
Never
Like,
stop
never
learning.
stop
Never
learning.
stop learning.
Man,
And honestly, I
that's
started. It wasn't what I had intended, but the January 7th is when I opened up the cafe, and that's actually the same day I started school.
Wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't planned at all. And I had to email my professor and be like I want to be in class,
Yeah.
but I'm also opening up my cafe today, and I wish you knew how big this was. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
they should understand.
No,
that.
that's dope,
they
man.
understood,
They should
yeah.
understand.
But
That's
I'm getting my MBA at SU, and I'm also in a program at UW right now where it's kind of mentorship, kind of like small company CEOs connecting with larger CEOs,
Yeah.
mentorship.
I love that.
As well. And so my objective right now is really how do I become a better Efrem for the sake of Boon Boona's case, and as well as I want to make sure that I'm leading my team in the right direction and that they're able to grow, provide them the things that in the corporate world that I wasn't provided. Opportunity for growth, upward mobility, for diversity, or to be able to speak my mind. Honestly,
Yeah. No, that's
Wow.
So all of those things,
Yeah.
I want to be able to provide those things to my team.
Yeah.
And so I want to take the responsibility of becoming a better me by, focusing on my education in a, kind of a lecture.
No, that's
setting,
dope, man.
No, that's dope.
As well as
dope.
real life as well with, the cafe.
Yeah.
As well. So.
I mean, I don't know if y'all noticed, but Denzel Washington still takes acting classes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington, right?
That's incredible.
So
That's motivating right there.
Yeah, right. You never stop
Yeah.
learning. So
No.
I'm glad that you shared that as well. So for those of you who don't think you have enough time to do what you want to do, I don't want to hear that.
Nah.
I'm not hearing that right now.
Nah.
But man, thank you for coming to the show. Do you got anything you want to end off with?
Nope.
We'll make sure to plug all the social media handles as
appreciate
well,
it.
and
Thank
people
you.
will
Yeah,
know
yeah.
where to find the Coffee
sure.
Cafe.
100%.
Now I always ask this question before. He's like, he knows it's coming.
No, I'm ready for it.
But I always ask this question for any guest that comes up here, just to kind of sum up what we talked about, but also cast what's ahead. So if you can, my brother, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up?
Community is it, and it's what drives me for every morning. So by providing a space that I have in Renton with Boon Boona Cafe, and then also about the community of where I'm sourcing my coffee at, and it kind of it's between two places, and so developing it so globally, or actually more focused in the motherland, and then also locally here making an impact. And so really what drives me, what keeps me on the up and up, is the community and how I can best serve.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Well, we with you on that.
Yeah.
We're gonna help serve. Like, any way you want us to help you serve the community, we got you, man.
I appreciate
Definitely.
it. Grateful.
Yeah, man, and continue doing the great work you're doing. You're definitely inspiring a lot of people who probably don't even know.
Appreciate
You don't even know you're inspiring. You got support here always.
Very grateful.
I'm wired as hell right now from this coffee, so y'all
I love it though.
Yeah,
make
no.
sure y'all tap in.
No.
Anything else you wanna?
Can I add? Can
Yeah,
I,
yeah, go ahead,
Can
man.
I give some praise to you guys? I mean, once again, I touched on it a little bit in the
Yeah.
middle, but I am so grateful to you guys. Honestly, you guys are doing a great job. This
Thank you,
platform
man.
is necessary.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
From Solomon, from Da Vinci, like
Yeah.
those that have come through here. Honestly, is listening and watching the
Yeah.
podcast is very inspiring.
Thank you, bro.
Keep doing what you guys
Hell
are
yeah.
doing.
For sure.
Hell
Be
yeah.
relentless.
Always,
and
man.
You guys,
Come on, man.
I'm rooting for you
We
guys.
can't bring people like
completely.
this up here, man, and
Nah.
and just let up. You know what I
No,
mean? So
man. Keep going.
yeah, man.
Keep
We,
going.
man.
Yeah,
We're
for
just,
sure.
we're just trying to cultivate
Yeah.
culture, and bringing more stories to the forefront is what keeps us going, right? Everybody here on this team. So
Shout out to the team.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Everybody in
Yeah.
here, man. We gotta interview y'all sometime, man. No? Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, man. But Efrem, again, thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Shout out to you and Boon Boona and everything you guys are doing.
you so
Amazing
much.
things to come. I already know. With that being said, man, I think it's safe to say Efrem Fesaha and Boon Boona are officially members of the UpNUp. Can we get a round of applause?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, my brother.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, man.
So grateful.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.